right. Well, we're about 10:02. We have a action-packed hour here, opening session. So want to welcome everyone to our 2021 virtual annual meeting. Good morning to everybody. Hope everybody's getting their technical difficulties resolved as we're going through this. Reach out. We do have some technical support on the line. If you have any questions, you can put something in the chat if you have any challenges or anything. So for our opening session, I'm doing the welcome right now, quick overview of it. Going to hand it over to Amanda Good in a minute, and she's going to give us an overview of the full meeting. Then we have a presentation about the Traffic Incident Management Training and Development track from Jennifer Portanova. Chris Beeples is going to give a presentation from NCDOT, and Jennifer Rhodes following him from South Carolina DOT. And then round out the hour with Carrie Mussman talking about some award presentations and then a vendor hour introduction following that. So just to kick off our presentation, I'm thinking back about the history, and those that have been involved since the beginning are very familiar with the bumpy road and the crowded bus that we've been on getting to this. And trying to figure out how to do this. I don't know if many of you have seen the 13 seasons of North Carolina, winter, full spring, second winter, spring of deception, so forth. I kind of followed that model and wanted to talk about kind of where we've been over the last few years and some of the fun memories that we've had getting here. So I'm calling the 13 seasons of ITS Carolinas. Wanted to just kind of run down with everyone. So June 2014, officially formed as ITS Carolina. So we're coming up on our 7th birthday here. March 15th, first 3 committees officially created with, I believe, 3 people that were in the room at the time that we formed the 3 committees to kind of get the ball rolling and get things started. And then shortly after that, we grew that number of people in the room. And in June, we had our first annual planning meeting. And for those that were there, remember we said, yeah, we'll have an annual meeting in 3 months. And we haven't done anything yet, but we're willing to take that on. So September 2015, we had our first annual meeting that year with great attendance, over 200. We had over 35 vendors at the first session. It was fantastic. And of course, the cornhole tournament was officially born and has become probably the most popular thing of our annual meeting and gets talked about even on the annual level, as we actually got Shailen Bhatt to participate or get some video footage of him participating in our cornhole tournament. Following that, September 2016, we had our second annual meeting, and we actually won ITS America Award for Outstanding State Chapter Division 4. Pretty exciting with our second year under our belt, winning a national award so quickly. 2017, sorry, PowerPoint. We had our third annual meeting. Oh, wait, no, we didn't. Dan kept warning us, stay away from September and October. And then it happened, and Hurricane Irma came in and said, no, you cannot have an annual meeting in September. It will not happen. So we jumped to February 2018, and we had our third annual meeting. So I guess that was our annual meeting of deception, if you compare it to the 13 seasons back. So we moved our meeting to February, had our third annual meeting in 2018, and said, hey, we actually like this time of year. This worked out really, really well. And we won our second national award for membership growth that year. It's pretty exciting to be recognized so quickly. Then we decided we didn't have enough on our plate. So that September, we said, hey, let's help get 5C going down in Jacksonville, Florida. I had 500 people down there, partnered with multiple other sections, had the 5C Summit down in Jacksonville, Florida. But it was in September. And a little hurricane came up and made most of the public sector attendees actually leave on the second day and head back to actually manage a storm. So couldn't get too far away from that. Come back to March 2019, we were successful having our 4th annual meeting. Oh, hey, we won another national award. We're pretty excited about that. So getting recognition for what? For hurricane response and how the industry stepped up and managing everything and helping out the DOTs during Hurricane Florence. March 2020, our 5th annual meeting is scheduled. We're super excited. We're going to start off with a big old crash. We have a crash demonstration. We're going to kick off the ITS Operations Academy. All this wonderful stuff is going to be over 3 days. No, can't do that. 2 weeks out, I believe it was less than 2 weeks, little thing, worldwide pandemic, national shutdown. So we had to actually cancel that. And so fast forward to right now, and we are here after 13 seasons. Yes, we haven't got to 13 yet. You're right. March 2021, we're having our 5th annual meeting. It is our virtual annual meeting. Also in 2021, we agreed we'll partner with ITE to have the Rural ITS Conference in November. Oh, no, they changed their mind. They're moving it to Portland, so we're not having that. But in December of this year, we are partnering with ITS America to have the ITS annual meeting down in Charlotte. So as you can see, over 7 years, it's been a bumpy road, but we're super excited that we've made it to our 5th annual meeting with all these challenges and everything throughout the year. So congratulations. Welcome to everybody to our annual meeting. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Amanda, and she can kind of tell you what's going to be happening over the next few days.
Hey, everybody. So we have a jam-packed agenda for everybody. We have 8 sessions that anybody can choose from. 2 of them will be general sessions, and then the remaining 6 will be concurrent sessions. So use the Whova app or program to go in and find the link to which session you want. There is a description. There are the presenters in there, and there's some bios, so that if you wanted to see a little bit more about what the sessions are about, feel free to go in. Again, if you have any questions, we do have some technical folks who can help with navigating the application. Some other things, we will have happy hour on Tuesday, 4:30 to 6:30. There are 4 choices. So we have 2 options for escape room, and then we'll have a virtual, and we will also have categories. So just a couple of things to note, the 2 escape rooms will be limited. No more than 12 attendees. So if you get in there and there's probably say 14, 15, you may be able to hold out before switching, just in case somebody decides that that escape room is not for them and they want to do something else. There might be some switcheroos. Plus, feel free, if you are doing trivia and you decide you want to do something else, you can switch. And all of the links will be in the Whova app under the happy hour. Also, some other things, PDHs. So there will be a link and a certificate on the Whova page for PDHs. Even this opening session will have a few PDHs associated with it. So for all those who need them, be on the lookout. There's also a raffle for a $100 Amazon gift card. The raffles are $5 for a ticket, and all the proceeds go to the ITS Carolina Scholarship Fund. But there's a link on Whova, so if you're interested, click on the link and put your name in for the raffle. Some reminders for each of the sessions. So as you enter into the session rooms, you will be put on mute. Please stay on mute. When you want to ask questions, that will be the time to unmute yourself. We're trying to minimize any background noise so that there's not a lot of interference with those who are presenting or on the panel. There will be opportunities to ask questions either through the raise the hand or through unmuting and asking questions. So please pay attention to the sessions. They have designated which way that they would want to ask questions. Also, all sessions will be recorded. So as you can see in the top left-hand corner of the grid for all the people, it says it's recording. So keep that in mind. These sessions will be available for after the conference. So if you decide that you wanted to attend one session, but you also want to see what's happening in the other session, these recordings will be available so you can go back and see what the other session was all about. Also for cameras, for all of the attendees, if you could, please try not to be on camera. We're trying not to bog down the system. But for the panel and discussions, presenters, please stay on your camera because we want all the attendees to see who you are. So with that, I will turn it back over to Jeff. And I hope everybody has a great time because we are really excited that we were able to have this. So I hope you guys enjoy.
All right, great. Thanks, Amanda. Yep. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat as we're going through everything. With that, pass it over to Jennifer Portanova to talk about the NCDOT Traffic Incident Management Training and Development Track.
Good morning. NCDOT is excited to unveil our newly constructed Traffic Incident Management Training and Development Track. We have been training our IMAP drivers at the Highway Patrol training facility for a number of years. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. We've been training our IMAP drivers at the Highway Patrol training facility, NCHP, the Highway Patrol, I said that, training facility for many years. And so we partnered with them to build a training track at their facility. So this track provides a realistic, safe environment to train our IMAP drivers and our other emergency responders. We are also proud this year to, or honored this year to have won the National Center of Excellence Award, TISMO Award for our track. This is the third year we've won a TISMO Award. We hope to be able to do a actually in-person ribbon cutting in the fall. And we want to be able to invite you there to see the track in person. But in the meantime, we have a video to show you of what the track looks like. And so I asked Jeff if he will cue that up.
Amount of value to the North Carolina Department of Transportation and our citizens. Part of that value is travel time reliability, moving things out of the roadway so folks can get to where they're going safely.
This training facility is the next step in that evolution, where we can bring our state troopers, our IMAP partners, our fire department, our other police department, EMS, they all can come to this facility and train at this state-of-the-art facility.
On my end, the audio just went out if there was some.
It's okay without the audio. It's just music if you can't hear it.
Side of a road with whether it's 10,000 cars or 210,000 cars, that's a dangerous place to be doing training. So having a facility like this, it provides a safe space where our folks can learn how to do what they need to do, practice what they need to do, show their supervisors and trainers that they have grasped that concept in a safe environment before they're out there under live traffic. Because it's a whole different ballgame under live traffic. Out here, it's a controlled environment and much safer.
So that was it. That was the track. We're open to any questions if anybody has any. We hope to be able to see you out at the track someday when we can all get back together after this pandemic.
All right, thanks, Jennifer. Meredith, I think you're up now for our introduction.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I also wanted to welcome you to the conference. We're excited. This is a new venture for us, this virtual conference, so bear with us. I know the video is a little bit delayed and things like that, but we'll get through it. Without further ado, I want to introduce our Deputy Chief Engineer for the North Carolina DOT, Chris Peoples. He is going to share some information about North Carolina DOT with you. He earned his bachelor's degree in chemical engineering in 1993 from NC State University and is a registered professional engineer in North Carolina. Chris is currently serving as a deputy chief engineer for the NC DOT and has been in this role since December of 2019. He manages the directors of field support and highway operations, excuse me, and assists the chief engineer with oversight of the engineering program activities for North Carolina DOT's 14 highway divisions, as well as the Transportation, Mobility, and Safety Division, other central units, and the Technical Services Division. Chris has more than 25 years of transportation engineering experience and has served in several positions, including State Materials Engineer and Director of Field Support with NC DOT prior to his current role. So we appreciate Chris joining us this morning, and he's going to share a little bit with you. We're looking forward to hearing what you have to say, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith. So all that stuff really just means that crap flows downhill, and I'm about to talk a little bit about our leadership team, and you'll see where I am in the pecking order. So you'll see that I get to deal with a lot of different stuff. But so I've been asked to talk about probably about 3 topics. One of them is just our current leadership team, and then the second topic's going to be a little high-level overview of kind of the department's financial status. And then we'll get into some funding and then maybe a special project. So thank you for having me. I'm pretty honored to be a part of this thing. I think a lot of you guys probably know who my father was. So I always tell Kevin that I'm an honorary traffic engineer because basically I've been around for 49 years, and the first 47 years of my life, I think I probably knew more about traffic than anybody else who didn't work in traffic safety and mobility unit, or didn't at least have to be a part of what DOT does. Because I spent a whole lot of time when I was growing up riding around on projects and listening to my dad complain about everybody. So very excited to have this opportunity. So the first member of our current leadership group, and some of you probably may know Secretary Boyette. Secretary Boyette's been working for the department probably since about the same time that I started, and my permanent position started in around 1995, 96 timeframe, and I think Secretary Boyette's probably started about the same time. He actually spent some time as a temporary technician working for my dad back in the old traffic engineering days. He's had multiple roles throughout the course of his state government career, including business officer. He was chief information officer with DOT. He was commissioner of DMV. He was inspector general, so overseeing the OIG operations, and then he spent several years as the secretary of the Department of Information Technology. So he's got a very broad view of what we do. He's an excellent leader, and he's been our secretary since February, and we're very happy to have him. He's a great guy to work with. The next member of our leadership team is a little bit more shiny, brand new. Bo Memory, he's been in his role, I think now this is probably the 8th week that he's been the Chief Operating Officer. Bo has served at NCDOT in a previous role. He was in charge of governmental affairs. I think he was the director of governmental affairs at the time. He's also been executive director of our Turnpike Authority. And then Bo spent some time as the National Transportation Director at SAS Institute most recently before coming back to the department. He's got some broad experience, and he's very well known for his governmental relations efforts. It's one of his strengths, and it's hopefully going to be a strength of the department. And so we're happy to have Bo and his leadership skills and his communication skills and his ability to connect with people. And then my boss, Ronnie Keeter, has been chief engineer, don't remember exactly when, sometime around December of this year, I think is when Ronnie was named chief. Prior to that, he served as the Eastern Regional Deputy Chief Engineer. So he got to deal with a lot of that downhill stuff that I was telling you about before he got into the chief's role. He's also spent time as a division engineer in Division 4, a division maintenance engineer, and a district engineer. Ronnie's a great guy, very, very level-headed, very common sense oriented, and very appreciative of the folks that work for him, and very humbled by the role that he's in. I think he would like for me to say all those things. He's really one of the smartest people I've been around in a long time, and appreciate the opportunity to be able to spend so much time with him and work with him. I can't say enough good things about Ronnie. And then that leads you to me. You've already heard kind of a little bit about me. So I'm not going to dwell on that. It's a nice picture, though. I do like that picture. So it's a nice smile. It's hard for me to do that sometimes. And then last but not least, everybody's favorite, Mr. Kevin Lacey. I think Kevin's been a state traffic engineer for probably close to 15 or 16 years since my dad retired. And so I've known Kevin for a really, really long time. I can't say enough good things about Kevin. Ronnie and I think the world of him. He's excellent at his job. He has excellent leadership skills. He has great ideas. And again, we're very, very, very pleased to have him. I hope he sticks around for at least a few more years so that I don't have to worry about anything on that side of the house. So that's the current leadership team. I think as it would affect you all, there's some other new faces too, but and maybe we'll just briefly mention that we have 2 new regional deputy chiefs. So Greg Burns will cover 1 through 6 and Division 8, and then our Western deputy chief is Brian Birch, so he would cover 7 and then 9 through 14. So nobody's happier to have those 2 guys in the roles that they're in because they've been vacant for several months, and it's just amplified my workload. So having those guys come in and help share the burden is a wonderful thing, and they're both fully capable of hitting the door running. And I think if you ever need them for anything, you'll find out that they're quality folks. So again, we have a very strong leadership team. We've got a lot of folks here that like to help people and like to solve problems. And I think that's what we're all about. Okay. So moving on to a couple more topics. I think Meredith and Kevin thought it'd be really good if I gave a high-level overview of where the department is cash-wise now. And I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time like looking at this camera. So if I'm wandering all around, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm getting my face centered as much as possible. anyway, our current cash position, the cash balance as of this morning was just north of 1.3 billion. I believe it was 1.322 billion. That is a long way from where we were this time last year. Matter of fact, I think we were just descending into the cash floor issue and basically stopping all work that wasn't currently under contract and stopping all expenditures. So that is, in my opinion, extremely fast recovery to get to the point where we now have $1.3 billion in cash on hand. Our revenues continue to exceed our expenditures, which is also a good thing. The department has spent a lot of time developing spend plans and spend targets for all the different programs across the whole entirety of the department. Those spend plans were developed in the time frame of about a year ago, a little after a year ago, and so they were very conservatively put together. And then the divisions continue to be even more conservative in their approach. So the spending rate has been a little slower than expected. But we do expect now, with construction season beginning in earnest and our cash position being where it is, that the spend will start. And so our goal long term would be for our expenditures to basically equal our revenue so that we can have a very consistent cash prediction and be able to program accordingly. Currently, our revenue forecast, it was updated in last month, and it's a consensus forecast between the department, the Office of State Budget Management, which works directly for the governor, and then fiscal research for the General Assembly of North Carolina. So, you know, it's kind of a think tank of those three bodies. And our current revenue projections for the next, I think, 9 to 10 years are approximately $2 billion greater than what we thought they were going to be in May of 2020, which was the last time that forecast was updated. That is very good news. That gets distributed by formula to the Highway Fund and the Highway Trust Fund, with the larger portion going to the Highway Fund. It should help tremendously in certain areas. One caveat to that is our project cost and our expenses, our cost estimates for basically our STIP projects, which is numerous, continue to rise, on average going up quite a bit. So we expect that revenue increase that is being forecasted will potentially get gobbled up by the cost increases of the projects that are in the STIPs, particularly the committed projects that are in the STIP for the next 9 to 10 years. So that's something we're watching closely, and we're spending quite a bit of time right now updating utilities estimates, right-of-way estimates, and construction estimates for a majority of the projects in the STIP. We hope to have that exercise finished by the end of June this year. One thing I forgot to mention about the cash balance and where we are now with the $1.3 billion. Recently, Congress passed the COVID relief bill. And in that bill, North Carolina received $259+ million as part of the COVID relief package, which was designated for revenue replacement. That will help us tremendously. Our plan to utilize that money, $30 million of that goes directly to MPOs of 200,000 population and greater. And then the remaining $229 million, we plan to, can somebody mute? I can hear you typing and it's a little distracting. I'm sorry. I don't know who that is, but okay. Hopefully they've stopped. So that leaves $229 million that the department plans to pay down our advanced construction and I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Chris.
Pay down advanced construction and some overdrafts on federal projects, which will create basically $229 million in cash that goes into our coffers over the course of the next 2.5, 3 months. So basically what it is it's like increasing your federal billing by somewhere around 10 or $20 million a week over that time period. So you will continue to see that cash balance grow in the short term until the expenditure rate picks up, hopefully by the beginning of the summer, and we start to balance that out quite a bit. Future expectations, as I've mentioned, the cost estimate issue is a major concern right now, and the department's investing a lot of time and resources into trying to get a better picture of where we are with our program. So essentially, as we get information in on these cost estimates, we take a look at how projects are scheduled, and we may continue to make some adjustments there. You may see some more schedule changes over the course of the next few months. Again, our goal is to have that ironed out by the end of June, which would be the end of this state fiscal year. And the purpose in doing this is to get a better overall picture of, combined with our updated revenue forecast, which we expect to update again, I think before May. Once, tax returns and some other things come in, I think you get a better picture of what the economy looks like late spring. And as we do that, we want to balance that out with what we think our current cost situation is. And so the overall goal there would be to have a STIP that a program is very, very, very consistent. And you don't have to initiate a lot of schedule changes due to funding issues. They would more or less be schedule changes due to a project not being ready or the ability to advance a project. And when I say not being ready, that would be more along the lines of not having right-of-way acquired, not having utilities relocated, or potentially not having permit issues worked out. So we would like to get to the point where our cash model and our STIP work hand in hand, and you're not riding a roller coaster, for lack of a better term, which is what we've basically been doing for the last 2 years where I've been in the chief's office. It seems like you hit the brake and you stay on the brake for a while, and then all of a sudden you got to hit the gas again. And probably what contributed somewhat to our position where we are was that we were hitting the gas really hard before we ever hit the brake. So you're trying to time when to hit the brake and when to hit the gas, and it gets to be a major struggle, and it's like turning a battleship. And so what you would like to see is, again, revenues equaling expenditures, and so more of a steady state type operation with your spend versus revenue intake. So, one thing I would like to mention is some of you may be familiar with the Governor Cooper's executive order number 91. I have the date when that was issued, but it was probably at least a year ago. It was probably longer than that. Grab a piece of paper here so I can. That order is titled "Establishing the Task Force on Connecting North Carolina, Promoting Expansion of Access to High-Speed Internet, and Removing Barriers to Broadband Infrastructure Installation." And the purpose of the executive order, it is the policy of the Office of the Governor and the North Carolina Department of Information Technology to promote and implement actions that equitably expand broadband access in North Carolina. These actions include supporting the deployment of last-mile broadband infrastructure, developing a uniform dig-once policy to reduce repeated broadband installation excavations, bridging the homework gap that results from students not having internet access, and increasing efforts to ensure affordable high-speed internet for North Carolina residents, businesses, nonprofits, schools, communities, and governments. Vast expertise within the state cabinet agencies, as well as partnerships with non-governmental entities, will be utilized to develop and implement strategies toward accomplishing this goal. And so there's a couple of points in there that my staff, some folks in the chief's office, and some folks in the technical services division have worked on, and we've relied heavily on Jennifer Meredith, and then our ITS section, particularly Andrew Scoos, for the past year or so. One of the things we're doing, and I'm going to talk in detail about that on a later slide, is we've actually put out an RFP for laying a pretty extensive broadband backbone on 3 major corridors in North Carolina. So I'll get into that in a little bit more detail. Currently, I just, before I got on this call, I was on another call discussing where we're going with federal authorization. And we're always looking at ways to pass on our needs to our legislative group in Washington. And so, you know, multiple times we've been engaged with our governmental affairs person up there, Jim McCluskey. And so currently we're going to be working on looking at a reauthorization and how that's going to look. We're also got our eyes on the internet and on the news, and talking to Jim about any potential infrastructure stimulus type packages that come out, and we try to remain nimble so that we can utilize additional funding anywhere we can get it. You know, we spend a lot of time writing grant applications in North Carolina to get additional federal funding to help move projects forward. We would also certainly want to leverage any stimulus money that came about. One more topic would be the operations funding for traffic safety and mobility. It's all basically funded at, well, the basis of the funding comes out of the highway fund, and it's approximately $16 million annually for ITS, TMC, IMAP, and then there's some other costs, major events planning and response, NASCAR, football games, etc. Additionally, there's $5+ million that comes out of the general maintenance reserve, which is where the $16 million annually comes from, that goes into just the power bill for our signals across the state. And then there's another $23 million that comes out of general maintenance reserve that goes into signal maintenance agreements with municipalities across the state. A lot of folks don't probably realize that we pay for those pay for a lot of those through agreements with the larger MPOs. Using additional funding sources, CMAQ, Highway Safety Improvement, the STIC, and then leveraging TIP projects. Kevin is very good at conferring and requesting from the chief's office the ability to utilize these types of funding sources when it's appropriate to broaden the ITS infrastructure in North Carolina, updating current and then adding additional where needed. That's something that we're always willing to work with Kevin on. And so as he continues to request, and also better ways of funding what we already fund currently, also potentially utilizing some of those other funding sources. So lastly, I'm going to jump into the broadband project that I discussed a little bit earlier. we've been under procurement for quite some time on a couple of different infra grants that we received. The first one we received, I believe, as a result of a 2019 infra grant notice of funding obligation. And when we submitted our application, that was for the I-95 and US 70 corridors. It was widening portions of I-95 to 8 lanes, and then also bringing US 70 up to interstate standards. As part of that, there was a broadband piece that covered almost 300 miles from the South Carolina border to the North Carolina border on I-95, and then from just east of Raleigh to just west of Morehead City on US 70, essentially laying a backbone of infrastructure to expand not only our use of broadband, but the ability to potentially commercialize that broadband. We have the opportunity now to utilize our right-of-way as long as we get fair market value for allowing the use of that right-of-way. So our procurement process for this particular RFP, we started down the path of, at first we thought it would be a P3. We pivoted then to just making sure that we met the requirements of the grant with our funding issues, and then the pandemic hit, and so there was lots of different pivoting that went on. Finally, we settled on a procurement track that allows us some options, and so it's a 2-track procurement, but it really covers three different potential construction methods, or excuse me, procurement methods. One is a P3 track, which is essentially a design, build, operate, maintain, commercialize, and finance. Then there's a straight design build track, which is design build. And then there is a design build, operate, maintain, and commercialize piece that is tied in with the straight design build track. All that is to say that we were looking for maximum competition on this innovative approach. This is our first major broadband project. There are ITS elements tied in on the RFP. You guys can search on the design build website for this project, and you can find out lots of different details about what's in that RFP. So about sometime in early 2020, we found out that we won another infra grant for the US 74 corridor, and it also had a component of broadband in it. Although we did not get any grant funding for the broadband piece, it was a component, like a leverage type component. And so our ability to combine that US 74 corridor with the existing I-95 and US 70 efforts, we ended up delaying the procurement process and added US 74 to the scope. So now we're at almost 600 miles, and we're laying broadband from Wilmington, just west of Wilmington, to the west side of Monroe, taking a little break, and then starting back up again on US 74 just west of I-485 on the western side of Charlotte, and continuing on up into Asheville on US 74, where it merges with I-26. So this is a huge project. Overall committed dollars at this point to the project is about $90 million, and that includes about $23 million of infra grant funding. And we're very excited about the opportunities. We will know much more this time next week about where we are, and then by the end of the month, we will pick our preferred track, whether that be P3, design, build, operate, maintain, and commercialize, or just the straight up design build, and we postpone the commercialization piece until another time. We had a significant number of interested parties. We started the process with about 10 total companies that proposed on the various tracks. Some of them proposed on multiple tracks. I hope that's enough weedy information there. I think you can find out more about this project again on our Design Build website. And that concludes my presentation. I don't know if we're taking questions or not, but
Thanks, Chris. I think we're going to take questions at the end if we have time. We appreciate the information you shared and for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Can I go ahead and start introducing Jennifer, Jeff?
Yep, go ahead. Yep.
Okay, great. From South Carolina, we have Jennifer Rhodes. She's a graduate of Clemson University with a bachelor's in science degree in civil engineering and is a registered professional engineer with the state of South Carolina. She started her career with South Carolina DOT as a summer intern in 2004 for the Abbeville Construction Office. I hope I said that right, Jennifer. In 2007, Jennifer joined South Carolina DOT full-time, and in 2019, she joined the Traffic Management Office with Traffic Engineering. She lives in Batesburg with her husband, Joey, and 2 children, 8-year-old Henry and 5-year-old Sally Eve. She is a member of Mount Ebel Baptist Church, I'm sorry if I said that wrong, where she's involved with the children's ministry. Jennifer, thank you for being with us. We look forward to hearing some information about South Carolina.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Can you guys see my screen, I hope?
Yes, we can see it. Thanks, Jennifer.
Awesome. Great. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate ITS Carolinas inviting us to talk this morning. Our chief engineer for operations was supposed to present today, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. So you got me. My name is Jennifer Rhodes, and I'm the Assistant State Traffic Management Engineer for SCDOT. Okay, so today I'm going to give you a short state of the state briefing, tell you a little bit about how COVID-19 has affected our funding, and then an update on ITS in South Carolina. All right, first a look at things in South Carolina. South Carolina has the 4th largest highway system in the nation that serves the 6th fastest population growth rate in the nation. The South Carolina Department of Transportation maintains over 41,000 miles of roadways, and South Carolina is home to 5.2 million residents, and over 31 million people travel to our state each year. To make sure we can adequately serve the people of our state and maintain our infrastructure, our leadership has come up with a 10-year strategic plan. The plan focuses on 4 areas: safety, paving, bridge, and interstates. The plan uses funding from a recent gas tax increase to accomplish the goals. The first target is safety. South Carolina has the highest rural fatality rate in the nation. I used to work in the safety office for about 12 years, so safety is always near and dear to my heart. To improve safety on rural roads, SCDOT is targeting the worst of the worst first by improving more than 100 miles of roadway per year. In the last 3 years, more than 465 miles have been completed or are under contract, so we're ahead of that goal. The second target is paving. 50% of the new state gas tax revenue is being used to repair or surface the state's roads and highways. More than 19% of the state's most heavily traveled primary roads and more than 15% of the secondary roads have been improved to a good standing in the past 3 years. More than 3,000 miles of paving has been completed or advanced to contract. The third target is bridges. As part of the 10-year plan, SCDOT will replace or reinforce more than 465 structurally deficient bridges. Across the state, more than 161 bridges have been completed or are under contract. The last target The fourth target is the interstates. SCDOT plans to widen or upgrade more than 140 miles of interstates under the 10-year plan. More than 80 miles have been upgraded or are under contract so far. This is the only target in the 10-year plan that helps relieve traffic congestion. The first three are targeted to help us get to a state of good repair, and the interstate projects are to help deal with the congestion that follows our prosperity. All right, next we'll take a look at COVID-19 in South Carolina. Like everyone else in the country, South Carolina was deeply impacted by COVID-19. Traffic dropped off very quickly when schools were closed. So we did a closure of schools about March of 2020. And that was our first major decrease. Traffic was at the lowest when our governor issued a home or work order in April, and traffic dropped to about 50% of normal levels. In May, that order was rescinded and we saw traffic begin to steadily climb. Since mid-June of last year, traffic levels have remained 5 to 15% lower than pre-COVID. All right, now SCDOT did experience a revenue interruption due to COVID-19. Our leadership was able to cut the operating budget without impacting any road or bridge projects. So we got to continue on with our construction and everything we were doing as normal, which we're very, very proud of. We were also able to take advantage of the lower traffic levels. Lower traffic levels meant expanded work windows on road projects. So we got to do more work because of the lower traffic levels. All right, now a little bit about ITS in South Carolina. We've been fortunate enough during the pandemic to continue many of our ITS efforts. We've been expanding our ITS footprint across the state by adding fiber, DMS boards, and cameras to our system. The photo here is a night installation of 2 DMS boards on the Stein Bridge across the interstate. We also went through a major update to our 511 website and app in 2020. We launched a new system in June. Both were given a more modern look and feel and added new features. In 2020, we saw a 30% reduction in calls, website hits, and app sessions due to COVID-19. This reduction wasn't as large as the reduction in traffic, but it was significant. Some of our most popular new features have been the look ahead feature that lets drivers know of upcoming events, the ability to add cameras to a favorites list, and adding the nearest camera image to all construction and incident events. The image on the left shows the favorite camera feature, and the image on the right shows a snapshot camera image added to a construction event card. And you can click on that camera snapshot on the right, and it'll bring up the live streaming camera view. These are 2 of my favorite new additions, these 2 right here, and we're pretty proud of them. We also added Waze to our 511 data. Users can now see Waze crash, congestion, and hazard data on the 511 map. The addition of Waze has been very popular with users. It also lets us expand our coverage through 511 on routes not routinely monitored by TMC operators. For the Waze data, we didn't put in all Waze layers, just certain aspects. Pretty much we went through, if I wouldn't put it on a message board, we didn't include it in our Waze layers. We were also still rocking and rolling with our traffic management centers and SHEP program. In 2020, our TMC operators logged over 37,000 events into our ATMS software. And our heroes in the big blue trucks, our SHEP responders, they responded to over 22,000 incidents statewide. They definitely stay very busy. Our TMC operators and SHEP responders continued their normal schedules during the pandemic. The SHEP responders took extra precautions to keep themselves and our citizens safe, but they responded to incidents as normal. This is just a little tweet that our press office put out about one of our SHEP responders in Florence County. And then I'm gonna end with this overhead message sign. like most other states who were asked to run COVID messaging during the pandemic, and this is one of the signs that we read. I appreciate your time today. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed being able to share a little bit about what we're doing in South Carolina.
Thank you, Jennifer. I guess we'll pass it back to Jeff.
Yep. Thanks, Meredith. Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Chris. Wanted to give a couple thank yous out before I hand it over to Carrie. Start with Amanda. I'm not sure how many hats you wore pulling this with the committee and with the technical agenda as well, but I want to give you a minute to recognize anybody's helped you out.
Yes, thanks. There's no way that one person can do all of this themselves. So I want to give a special recognition to all of the session leads. And so just to give everybody a little bit of what session leads do is they're the ones who find these presenters. They're the ones who coordinate. They're the ones who find a moderator. Most of the session leads are moderators, so you'll meet them. However, there's 3 that decided to find different moderators. So I wanted to give a special thank you to Anthony Barbetto, David Spencer, and John Horner for doing the session leads and then finding moderators. And then also thanks to the moderators. You'll meet them as you join each of the sessions. Also, I want to thank all of our tech admins, and that includes Jeff Hess, John Horner, Nick Burns, and Chelsea McKittrick. So thank you guys as well. And then a very special, huge thank you to Chelsea, because without her and all of what she did and behind the scenes, this would be a little bit less smooth. So thanks, Chelsea, for doing everything that you did.
Thanks, Amanda, for all your coordinating of all that. Also want to thank our board members. So if you're on and willing to turn on your cameras, please turn your cameras for the board members. Ashley is our current vice president. And yes, I did use the quarantine to hold on to the presidency for extra amount of time, as I've been accused of doing. It was all a plan to not give it up. But Ashley's our current vice president. Meredith is secretary. Carrie is treasurer forever. I think she's ready to pass that title on. And I see other board members, Tiger, past president. See other board members turning on their cameras. They're all listed on the website too. We've been very fortunate in that we pulled in people to get involved in the board as active members of the board. So we've been very, very fortunate, as more people want to get involved, to have the flexibility to grow the size of the board and have more people involved in that. So I know other organizations are similar, but we're very, very fortunate to have so many people that are actively involved in the organization and helping us grow. We've been consistent in every annual meeting, having over 200 attendees, having 30 plus vendors. Being virtual, we're still pretty excited to have 200 people registered in our virtual meeting. And I think we're around the 15 count for our sponsors for our virtual meeting. So thank you to all the board members for everything, keeping us growing and helping us get this virtual meeting to happen this year, as well as we had to make decisions last year on what to do. And also to make commitments on national meetings that may or may not have come to North Carolina for this year. So thanks to everything. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Carrie.
Hey, everybody. If y'all will actually stay on your computers, stay on camera. Everybody that was just on camera, get back on real quick. Okay, so I'm going to start out with the awards. And the first award goes to, can y'all see that? Ashley. Hey, Ashley. Now, y'all will notice all of these are dated 2020, but Ashley got the Outstanding Dedication Award in 2020, and we are just now able to present this to her. So thank you, Ashley, and I will get your award to you. Let's see. We have a brand new award that we created last year that most people don't know about, that is the Technical Excellence Award. We had 2 people last year that we just really felt like we had to recognize. And so we created a new award. Amanda Good, thank you very much for everything that you have done this last year, both in 2020 and now 2021, for helping put together the technical agenda and everything for the last couple years and pulling all this together. So thanks, Amanda. And then lastly, I have another award. Can y'all read that? Okay, you can read it without me being behind it. This is for Jeff Dale. And Jeff, we need to modify this award now because it has you as Secretary in 2017, Vice President in 2018, and President in 2019. We need to add 2020 and 2021 President
Wait.
as well.
No,
So,
Tiger, there's
thank you.
elections coming, right, Tiger?
So Jeff, thank you for your contributions, for everything that you have done. And again, we kind of skipped 2021 awards, but it just overlaps. So next we have our vendor networking opportunity that started 3 minutes ago, but that's okay. And we have all of our sponsors have virtual booths that you can go in and join and have chats with them. Let me see if I can run down. Well, let me pull it real quick. Home sponsors. Okay. Our current sponsors are Carolina Traffic Devices, Control Technologies, IBI Group, Impact Designs, JAD Engineering, or JAD, Q-Free, Quality Counts, Centennial Transportation, Stantec, Temple, and I'm going to butcher this, Versailles, Kimley Horn, Atkins, Iteris, and Capsh. So thank you guys for sponsoring this meeting. We know this is a little bit different being virtual, but we really appreciate the sponsorship. So if y'all could stay online and join over to the next chat, which will be, there's a separate Zoom link for this next meeting. Chelsea or Jeff, did I miss anything as far as instructions?
No, I
I
think you
don't
got
think
it.
so.
Okay, thanks. Please stay on and join us for the vendor networking next.
Yeah, thank you everybody for your attendance in our opening session. Look forward to seeing everyone over the next few days virtually.
Thank you.